I honestly mean it. I honestly hope that you heal from the things that you don't talk about, the things that you haven't talked about, even to the people who are closest to you. And if you have talked to someone, then it's usually someone who you're just meeting in passing who you probably won't see again, so you feel more open to share it with them. And I hope today this is for someone who actually is going through something, and this will probably change the direction of your healing, so to speak, because we all are healing through something. And one of the things about healing is that healing is taking place no matter what you do. I know it might not feel like it. I know it may feel like, well, it still hurts. You got to understand, it can still hurt and you can still be healing. It can still hurt. You know, this morning I was cutting something, and what I was cutting with slipped, stabbed me right in the finger, and it hurt so bad. And I was like, it's okay. And I looked down, and you could probably still see it. You see it a little bit. This little cut was bleeding profusely. Like, it was bleeding a lot. And I was like, man, gosh, like I need the bleeding to stop. And I started to think about that. That's what this whole thing came from. I started to think about it, and I was like, wait a minute. I want the bleeding to stop, but the bleeding is the healing process. Like, I'm having these thoughts in my mind, like the bleeding is the healing process. The second I cut it, the body realizes we got to get some blood there to start healing that skin. So it started bleeding, and now the blood has to like clot, and I can help it by putting pressure on it. So I was putting pressure I have a baby wipe. I was putting pressure on it. It still was bleeding. I was just holding it there, and I was like, man, this is crazy how our body is just healing in itself. And at the moment, I wasn't thinking like I want my finger to heal. Get ready for this. I wasn't thinking I want my finger to heal. The only thing that I was thinking about is I want this pain to stop. Oh yeah, we're going there. It was like, I want this pain to stop. Like, this pain is hurting me and I want it to stop. But the healing was already taking place. But I didn't really care about the healing so much. I just want the pain to stop. I want to be able to start to use my hand again. I want to start to be able to be how I feel again. I want to be like that again. And it made me just think of the healing process of everything. How many times, I know so many of us have been just hurt really bad by other humans. And in that moment, it's like, I just want to heal. We rarely say that. Because we really just want to feel good. We want to feel better than we do right now. We want to feel good. It's what we all have in common. I want to feel good. You want to feel good. And it's like, get the pain to stop. But you can get the pain to stop and feel good and be dying at the same time. Because the healing process is happening. I want you to think about something that happened to you. The second it happened to you, the healing process had begun. The bleeding starts, the healing is beginning. We can choose how to clot it. We can choose how to stop the bleeding. But that's just a little part of it. When we actually think about healing, we actually have to really think about, like, well, how is this going to heal? Which is like, you have to ask the question, like, how do I want this to heal? How do I want this ending to be from this little thing that happened? You know, this person hurt me. They went behind my back. They did something unimaginable. And it hurt me so bad. So the thing I want to do is move on. Moving on, or changing people, like people is one of the easiest examples, is one of the easiest ways to stop the pain. Because I don't have to think about you. I don't have to be with you. I'm be with someone else, and I'll get my mind off of this pain, and I'll feel better. And we all want to feel better. So it accomplishes the goal. But after a while, what you didn't let heal now starts to come back. You following me? So, like, it's not even funny. It's just crazy just as I think about this, because I didn't really formulate my thought before I jumped on here to speak with you, before I came to this beautiful office to talk to you. I just kind of was like, this needs to be shared. So many of you guys know I'm a pro athlete for 12 years. But what led to me being a pro athlete was me losing all my big Division I school offers, and all the college coaches who called me every year, every day, every week at least, multiple different coaches, they stopped calling me because I broke my leg. At 17 years old, I went up for a dunk. I had ran in like a little mini marathon. I had did a dunk contest the day before. I had played basketball that day, and I rode my bike so far for a practice. Then I went to go work out. Then I played again, and I was about to leave because I was hurt so bad, and these people asked me to play. And I said, okay, I'll do one more game with you guys. And I went to warm up and jump, and I heard this sound. Literally. And that was my tibia snapping. Like my tibia just snapped in half. And I landed. And I looked at it, my knee had just swollen. Like instantly. Like I remember it was so much pain. I was just pushing on my quadricep, and I was just in pain like this, like it was so much pain. And when we feel the pain, is we want the pain to stop. I'm not thinking about healing. I want the pain to stop so I can walk. Pain to stop so I can get back to feeling good. Pain to stop and feeling good. And our mind is like, it's healing. And it is. But to fast forward, because we won't go into the whole story, but I had to have surgery and pins put in my leg. And it's at 17 years old. Wasn't sure I was even going to walk or play basketball again. And I remember the doctor came to us, and I remember, no, it wasn't a doctor. It was a doctor. Someone close to me, and they were a doctor, and they saw the x-ray, saw what happened, and I said, yeah, I got 2 screws in. They were going to put a plate, but they didn't, and I have a little wire that wraps from my tibia around my kneecap and behind my kneecap to stop, because when they did the surgery, if I would have flexed my quad, I would have tore apart everything that they did. So they put something there so I couldn't use my quad in the beginning. And I was just like, I was thinking, that surgery was so painful after the surgery. It hurt more after the surgery than it hurt when I first broke it. At least when I broke it, like after the next day, it was just swollen. It only hurt if I moved it. And I could still stand up on one leg and kind of hop. But after the surgery, it hurt when I did nothing. That was even more painful. And I remember asking the doctor, I was like, what would have happened if I just left it like this? And they said, well, that happens a lot. I was like, really? He's like, yeah, it happens in these small villages. He's like, if you came from a small tribal town or a small village where they didn't have the care. Now I'm in the States, I was in the United States of America, so it was different. But like if you were in an African town or in Asia, in a small little village that didn't have the service and you didn't have the money and you didn't know anyone who could help you, they're like, it would have healed. They said, but you would have had one leg that was shorter than the other. I was like, oh. And they're like, it would have been bent because the tibia would have healed, broken. And they're like, you'd walk with a heavy limp. And they said later on, it would affect your hip because it'd be too much stress on your hip. And I was like, oh. And then they're like, well, and then after that, you start to have really bad back pain because if you're walking weird, your hip is going to start hurting. So the top part of your body is going to start compensating. And now you're going to start walking different, which can cause all kinds of other problems, bigger problems, from blood clots to herniated disc. And I was like, oh my goodness. But it healed. It would have healed. The actual break would have healed. Naturally. It took some kind of intervention to get it to heal in the way that I wanted it to. And I think about that as the healing process. There's people who, myself, who have not had the best experience in a relationship. And what they do is they just want to feel better. So you do things to make you feel better without questioning, well, how will this affect me later on? If I don't heal from this pain, will I ever be able to love? Will I ever be able to trust again? Those questions don't really go through our mind so much. So when we think about healing, when we really think about it, let's get that sun is rising. You see that? That's some beautiful lighting right there. That's some beautiful lighting. As a videographer, this is good lighting. And I started to just think about that. And it's like, for those of y'all who are healing, myself included, it's like, what do you want the result of this healing process to be? Like, what do you want the result of the healing process to be? Because maybe you want the result is just, I want to be just single forever. Or maybe the result is, I just want to be able to walk up steps again. I don't want to be able to run or jump again. Because that's going to dictate a lot. You know, if I would have told the doctor, actually my parents probably wouldn't have let me do this, but if I would have told the doctor, you know, I don't want to play basketball anymore. You know, I just want to be able to walk again. They could have just replaced the whole thing. Replaced the whole knee. That would have solved the problem. I would be able to walk again. I'd be able to go up steps again. I wouldn't be able to play. Not back then with the technology that was around then. But you have to really think of what do you want from the process, from that healing process. Because if I don't let this finger, just where I cut it today, that's it. Just that little cut right there. Like if I don't let that heal, if I don't let that heal correctly, I didn't clean it, make sure there's nothing in there, then it's going to be a bigger problem. Because I've actually had that happen. I've literally had that happen with a finger. I cut it on the rim. It looks like we got some dogs that are joining our conversation. Was joining our conversation. Oh goodness. Okay, the dog just left, but I think I just cut off my camera. But I've literally had that happen to me. Not sure where it cut off, but what I was saying was I've had that happen where I've cut my finger, went to the beach, got a piece of sand in it. It healed over, it closed, everything's okay. And before I know it, a week or two later, it starts to hurt a little bit. Then a week or two after that, it starts hurting a little bit more. Then a little bit more. And what they end up having to do is the doctor took a knife, scalpel, cut off the whole top layer of the scab where it healed, scraped it out, injected me with something to clean it, and then put a bandage over so it could heal again correctly. And for some of us, that's what we need to do in certain areas. I know I have to do that in certain areas. We literally need to take the scab off because what's under it is hindering the healing that we want. Because we feel good now. But if we keep it like that, we're not going to feel good later. And I mean, I'm sure anyone here want to feel good now and later. Something needs to be done about that. And if you let it go too long, it can cause huge problems. Before, well, of course, out of the 108 billion people that live in the world, 55 billion died from mosquitoes. But a huge chunk of the rest died from infection. That was the number one way you were going to die, was from infection. Not a fun death. And doesn't take a lot. Doesn't take a lot at all to die from infection. Because of what it causes. So many times it's like it's always like 2 layers deep at least before you get to it. It's not, for example, if you're hiking in the woods and you get an infection, now you have a fever. Now you're consuming more water. Now you're peeing more. And now your stomach's starting to hurt. So now you're going to the bathroom more. You need more water. So technically what you end up dying from isn't an infection. What you end up dying from is like a high fever or dehydration. Can you see how it's like something deeper? It's always like 2 layers before you can even see anything. 1 layer deep is nothing. 2 layers gives you an idea. It's the 3rd layer that really shows you. You know, one of my favorite quotes from one of my favorite shows from someone who's not the main character was Smallville. I love Smallville, as many of you guys know. I've probably watched all of them like twice maybe. And I love the quotes from Lex and Lionel Luthor. They have just amazing quotes. I have a whole book of quotes from them. And one of the things that Chloe said in one of these episodes, because they were all put to sleep and they were giving them crazy dreams. And they say if you die in your dreams, then they'll actually die in real life. So they have to stay alive. And they didn't understand that. And then Chloe said, well, because of your body's reaction to what it actually perceives as happening. And the guy said, really? And she said, yeah. And here was a quote. She said, when someone's skydiving and their parachute fails to deploy, the cause of death is not falling from high altitude or high impact. The cause of death is usually the heart attack that they incur on the way down because they know they're going to die. And I feel like the healing process, what you're going through, is very similar. That the pain you're feeling is caused by something that is not related to what you maybe think is happening. You know, you really can't trust people anymore, but the fact was that you actually can't trust yourself to choose the right person to put your trust in. So when they let you down, you totally feel totally worthless and horrible. And now you don't like or love or anything or open up to people, opportunity, places because of that. You know, I know so many people who don't travel or go places because of some experience that happened to them on a smaller scale, but they let that smaller scale thing go way too deep and affect them in ways that are not even correlated to each other. Like you had a bad experience when you took one trip, like 30 minutes from your home. So for that reason, you believe that if you go further away from home, worse things will happen. So now you'll never leave the country or leave your state or country because you're worried that, well, when I left 20 minutes away, this bad thing happened. So if I leave 10 hours away, imagine what can happen then. And it's just the healing. The process of it was just done in a way that wasn't, I gotta get out the sun a little bit, in a way that wasn't beneficial to what you want. So as you can see, it always comes back, and this is why I love coaching people, because it always comes back to what you want. Like someone, why, I've had a lot of examples, but a little example I can think of is someone was going through something really tough, and they were going to be leaving the person that they were with. And we were talking, and they said something along the lines of like, well, you know, I don't know how I'm going to deal with this, how I'm going to get over this. And I said, well, do you want to be able to love again, healthy and happy, and be with another human again without being freaking out? And they were like, no. And I was like, whoa, what do you mean? And they're like, because I just don't want to go through this pain again. And I was like, so it's just about choosing. I don't remember the exact questioning that I used at that time, but it was just along the lines of like, well, so do you just, what's the alternative? Like you want to love someone again and be with someone again, but you don't want to have the fear of getting hurt. And you got to remember that pain drives us more than pleasure. So we'll always choose the thing that's in the pain hand and avoid it before we go to what's in the pleasure hand and have it, you know? So basically these two beliefs don't really go with each other for what you want. So then it was like, or what if we take the third option? What if you got good at judging character, become a better judge of character? What if we start there? And trust yourself that no matter what happens, you'll be able to deal with it and overcome it and come out on the other side better than you were when you went into it. And then the famous thing that I love to hear people say in conversations, I love to hear people who I work with, I love them to say, oh, I never looked at it that way. My favorite thing to hear people say, or probably second favorite thing. First thing is like, oh, that's a good question. But hearing them say like, I never looked at it like that. Because the thing is, sometimes when we're hurt, we can't really articulate what we need in that time. So when you're really hurt, you don't know, it's tough to figure out what you need. But the one thing, that's why questions are so powerful, because it's like, well, what are you feeling? Not how are you feeling, what are you feeling? This is why when you go into a doctor's office, the doctor asks, you know, where is it hurting? Does it hurt if I push? Does it hurt if I touch? Does it hurt if I blow on it? Does it hurt if I slap it? Does it hurt if I hit it? Does water hurt? Like all these questions kind of narrow down what's going on, because the person who's going through it doesn't really understand what's happening, and they can't necessarily diagnose themselves. And I say all that to say that for those healing and going through something yet you haven't talked about, like whatever it is you're going through, think a little bit deeper. How would you like, in your perfect world, this situation to end? Simple question, but so powerful. How do you want it to end? Do you want it to end? What do you want to get out of it? I'm telling you, these questions are game changers. Game changers. Because some of you are just like, you know, I just don't want anything. I just want to be left alone. And that's what you really want, which I actually don't think that that's what people want. I think, learning for myself, I didn't want to just be alone. I think I just wanted to be around people who understood that at times I need to have space for me. Which, oh, I didn't think about that. I had a coach that taught one of the coaches I worked with in the past told me, let me see that. It's like, you don't want to be alone. You just are scared to get hurt. And that's okay. It's okay. It's okay to not have it figured out. Something you can take away. It's okay. I literally have that tattooed on my arm. I don't know if y'all can see. Like, it literally says, this tattoo on my arm says, it's okay. It's okay. And it's written by the heart. It's okay. Like, it's going to be okay. Because you trust yourself enough to know that no matter what happens, nothing is more powerful than you. Nothing can hurt you on the inside. Boats don't sink because of what's on the inside. Necessarily. Boats don't sink from what's around them. What's around a boat doesn't cause it to sink. What actually gets inside the boat from the outside is what causes boats to sink normally. Very rare that a boat will just sink. A boat that's structurally intact will just sink out of nowhere. Doesn't work like that. Now, if you got a big hole in your boat and you decide to patch it with duct tape or patch it by just putting your hand over it, it's not the most effective way. It stops the water flow from coming in a lot, but is it the best for the long term? Is that how you want to really do the 7-hour voyage? So how do you want to look coming out the other side? You know, one of the things I have people do is I have them just draw a picture. And I realize the clearer picture we can draw, the stronger it is as a pull. Instead of you just trying to fight your way out the other side, you have a clear picture of what it looks like. Some people are going through such horrible times right now, but on the other side of it, they have a clear picture. It's them, the person that they love. They're in a beautiful place, not around people, and they're both at peace, maybe sitting around a campfire. And that's what they want. That's it. Now we can decide, well, what we plan now, where we're going, does that lead us to that? And along the way, that might change. And that's okay as well. But at least we need to know where we're going. We at least need to know the direction that you're headed to. So you can call it healing, but you can change the word. I realize the words matter so much to people. You know, the way you change the word of it. Maybe it's not healing, it's just self-discovery maybe, or change such taboo words now, but another word. I get caught in it too when people ask what I do. It's like, yeah, I help people with a lot of things. I was thinking to myself the other day, I was like, really what I do is I'm like a legacy coach. Like at the end of it, like I get people results and I get people clear, that's clarity coach, but those things are kind of like, I help people build a legacy, like a true legacy. Like if they die today, there's a legacy left behind. They're not gonna disappear. Your life will not be just word of mouth after you're gone that people maybe talk about every now and then maybe. Like build a legacy. When you die, that people, like one of my, like I enjoy, like Kevin Samuels helped me out so much. Controversial person, but I have so much respect for the person. He got me out of a relationship that I was not supposed to be in, and he helped me through so much. Discover what I wanted, help me with a lot. And one of the most amazing things was he left a legacy. He died about 1.5 years ago, but he has hundreds of videos on YouTube, hundreds of private videos on his Patreon, videos everywhere. He has a legacy. So 10 years from now, people who don't know who he is, like, I don't think people understand this, what legacy is. So I've been shaving my head for close to 20 years. Probably 18 years I've been shaving my head. And I wear this on my head now to stop the sweat. But about 15 years ago, when I was playing basketball in Australia, and I'd go to schools. It was one of the things I had to do. Like, we didn't have to do it, but it was easy. It was easy money, and I love working with kids. So we go to the schools, and every school I went to, when I took my hat off, and they saw that I had a shaved head, right at that time, I think I wasn't even shaving my head. My hair was just going away, so it just looked like it was shaved. The kids were always like, Michael Jordan! He's Michael Jordan! He's Michael Jordan! And it was in 2009, 2010. And I remember thinking, like, how do these 7-year-olds, these 5-year-olds know who Michael Jordan is? How do they know who this guy is? Like, they never saw him play. Legacy. 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 Like a legacy that outlives you, that outdoes your career, that outdoes you being there physically doing what you do, even after you're gone from that area of whatever it is that you're doing, whether that's sport or that job, even after you're gone, you're still spoken of and talked about. And having that legacy, you can have it word of mouth, but you can watch it. Like for me, helping people build their legacy. Like when you're gone and you die today, you've left so much behind that people feel like you're still here. There's some people who won't even know that you're not even alive. Like there's people who watch my channel. There's people who literally watch my social media. And they think they'll watch a video from 5 years ago, from 6 years ago. I'll be in, I don't know, Rotterdam, Holland. Or they watch something from me in Ljubljana in Slovenia. Or they watch something from me in Poland. They're like, hey, what place is that? And they leave a comment. And then sometimes I respond. Most of the time I just read it. And I'm like, most of the time I'm like, that was like 6 years ago. I'm not there anymore. But in there, I am there. That's how I look. That's how I am. And I think that that's like legacy. Like, what do you want? One of my favorite things. Usually we do it like the first session when I work with people. Is, or actually no, it's usually like the second or third. No, it depends. Depends on what they're going through. But if I can, in the second session, and you guys feel free to do this. This is a little free thing you can do for yourself, and it's powerful. And it's this assignment. We don't do it at the time because they need time to think about it. And it bothers them all week. I know every single one of them. It bothers them all week. I have them write down. This is crazy. You ready for this one? I don't know if anyone's ever told you to do this. Okay? I have them write down what they want written on their tombstone. Legacy. And you know the crazy thing is they have that, but later on, we do the same thing again. And you'll never guess what happens. It changes. It changes. Because you realize, like, what do I want to leave behind? It's a bigger thought. It requires a different level of thinking. But we're talking about healing. Well, we heal from it, but we have to know what we want. What do we want to leave behind? A caring person, a loving person, what kind of person? And the way that we're healing, or we're choosing to deal with the situations, or the way we're choosing to respond to what has happened to us, is going to dictate a lot of how we're remembered. It's going to dictate a lot of what we do, how we make choices in the future. And I was talking to somebody, I don't know who I was talking to. I was talking to somebody a while ago, and they're telling me about all the stuff they used to bring down here to Mexico and fly around the States. And they're like, it was all great until September 11th, and then everything changed. And yes, because that's what it is. The healing process, the changing, how we're going to move forward from here so things never happen again. And the way you choose to deal with it has a crazy effects on everything in your life, everything you do, the way you see everything, the way you see the world changes. I used to see a rude person and I'd be like, man, that's sad how people go through life like that. That's sad, all the people that have to be around that person. You know, now, oh, an eagle. Whoa. Now I see a sad person and I send them good energy, because I used to get consumed by what I saw. I'd see that and I'd feel it. I'm very empathetic, so I'd feel it. I'd fly. I'd go and see someone and talk to them and feel them feeling sad, and then now I'd feel sad for about 5 minutes because I feel what they feel. And now I'm like, no, I don't want to feel that way. Walk by. If they can get some energy off me, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be me no matter what. The sun's going to shine no matter what. Just because I'm sitting under this umbrella here, the sun doesn't stop shining. It's going to keep shining no matter what. And that's what I encourage you to do, to be the light in your own life. And the light from your life will shine to other people and help brighten up their day. Once we can learn to heal, once we can learn to deal and know what it is that we want, how we want to come out of this, what does it look like on the other side, and vividly picture that, the better that we will become and the better we will heal. So, hope you got something from today, from here in the office, where it's very peaceful. What was very peaceful and chill and very relaxed. I want to let you know I appreciate you, every single one of you guys who are listening, who are showing up, who are doing the work, and that's even in itself is a word that's been saturated, but you guys are not giving up on yourself. Haven't figured it out, but you're in the process of figuring it out, and the secret, I'll tell you, is that's what life is. So with that being said, I love you. Take care of yourself. Take care of up here. And I'll see you guys. I'll see y'all really soon. Maybe sooner than you think. Blueberry coffee. See you later.